Anthony Picente on the phone. We saw him earlier this week at the Veterans Outreach Center. And welcome, County Executive. How you doing today?
Well, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
But we're doing okay.
Yeah, you ready for the snow to come in? Or do you have the shovel out and all that kind of business ready to go?
Still got a lot of leaves on the ground. So
for sure.
I did leaves the other day, and they're still falling, and hopefully we'll get them up before the snow, and hopefully the snow will wait a while.
Today's Friday the 13th. Before we get into the budget and the hearings that took place and the vote, are you a superstitious guy?
No, I'm not, because actually, although it's not today, my birthday is the 13th, so it occasionally falls on a Friday. So I never really got caught up in any of that stuff. So.
Gotcha. Good for you.
So yeah.
Yes. So quite a last couple of days for you there. Sam LaMarca was there, our own Sam from the news department here at WUTQ, and she characterized the budget hearings and the votes as being a little contentious. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess it should be no surprise. I think the last 2 months we have been on opposite sides. As far as the legislature, the entire legislature, and myself, or with some exceptions, because there were some very reasonable thinking people yesterday, although they were considerably outnumbered. But it's really disheartening. It's really disappointing, and confusing. I can use several adjectives on the air, and probably some I can't use on the air. But
go ahead, we got a dump button.
But I really, when you look at what they did or what they attempted to do, I still go back to the whole point of, they really didn't do anything. In doing this ridiculous cut, they put us behind. The financial plan that I have instituted over the last several years with many of their assistants, the board that is there, all of a sudden now gets torn apart because of a political statement to make that they're going to cut taxes, which has never, and we've gone back 30-plus years in the history of this county, they have never cut that levy. And that is really a move that boards, long before this one and myself as county executive, never tampered with, because you kept it at zero when you could, you kept it as low as possible. But when and they were smart enough to know that when you dive into that, it triggers a lot of factors going forward, and it's never been done. And despite my pleas, despite the public, they wanted to hear from the public. They heard for 2 nights from the public overwhelmingly to stay the course. Didn't matter to them. Why have public hearings if you're not going to at least take into account what the people have to say? So all of these factors and the hypocrisy of 4 of those that voted and ended up voting against the budget that they amended was another kind of crazy moment in the history of government.
Yeah. Legislator
Fliznik from the town of Marcy, who led the charge on a lot of this and led the charge on the amendments, then voted against the budget that he amended. It flies in the face of just utter ridiculousness and confusion to say that we've saved literally nickels for the taxpayer. The budget that I submitted held the line. Cut spending was a 0.5 point, but evidently it wasn't enough for them.
Yeah, I wonder if you're also disappointed in County Legislator Frank Tallarino, outgoing, I might add. Who...
Well, that's another one. Here's a man who filed 3 lawsuits against the county during his last 2 years that cost the county tens of thousands. I didn't hear any of those legislators say, where's that money? But instead they went and cut a College Corps program that educates and provides internships for college students in our area. And Mr. Fliznik was one who said that these college kids should be getting internships in the private sector, not in the public sector. Really? What kind of statement is that from an Oneida County legislator, someone who worked in state government his entire life and just retired, who serves as a legislator for the last, 15, 20 years, to say that it's not proper for young people to get involved in government and intern in government? We have the health department, we have the law department, we have the district attorney's office. To say that students shouldn't be interning in ours and say that the administrative oversight was bad. That's why they cut it. What they cut wasn't administrative. It had nothing to do with administration. It had everything to do with students.
Talking to Anthony Picente, the Oneida County executive, a bit disappointed at the board's cuts recently with the Oneida County budget, and we're on 100.7 FM WUTQ.
Didn't expect anything less than from Frank and what we've seen out of that.
Well, I mean, but look, it's Frank has been there for the 9 years that I've been there. I never expected Frank to be reasonable.
Right, but I think
I expected the others to be reasonable. I expected others to look at this as the opportunity of where we've been, and I keep saying that. We got 3 credit rating upgrades in my time. Before I got into office, it had been 7 years before they had an upgrade. In fact, they had been downgraded. It was because of the management that we've done. Now we risk that because
you go back next year.
Well, I have today at noon we have a credit rating call with Standard & Poor. Because now starts the cycle of calls with our credit rating agencies. And when you lose revenue, the agencies look at that as a negative because you can't make that up. Mm-hmm. And that's my point here. The point here is you're diminishing a recurring revenue stream by reducing it. And they call it a compromise. I don't know who they compromised with. They didn't compromise with me.
Well,
they compromised with themselves.
I think the frustrating part here is, Anthony, is the point that they're trying to, the Republicans on the other side we're trying to decrease and give back the 3%, but they didn't get anywhere with their 1.4%, and all they did was cut some of these programs that, in a time for where we're getting some extra funds from the agreement with the Oneidas. I think this would be the time to invest in those programs.
Well, I agree, and that's what I said. Last year we put $5 million in Partners for Prosperity. They all voted for it. This year we put 1.3 because we kept the budget tighter. But we kept in play the STEM programs for the schools, for which last year I think we had 16 school districts that benefited. We had the Arts and Culture Fund, which I think another 18 or so benefited from. We had the Public Safety Account, which helped our first responders in Utica, Rome, New Hartford, in the Sheriff's Office with vests and other equipment. And we're looking at a mutual link program for the schools to have cameras in many of the school districts, in the cases of incidents that occur. These are the things that they cut. And they turned around at the board meeting and said, no, we didn't cut it. Yes, you did. You cut it by $900,000 plus. You moved $400,000 of it into a contingency account. For what purpose? I don't know. They think that's still intact for Partners. It's not. If they wanted to keep it in Partners, they would have kept it in each of the categories that I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Sam, you were there.
But again, the process that they approached
mm-hmm.
was opposite from what I worked with them on for
right.
the last 9 years.
Exactly.
Every year when we've gone through a budget, it takes us three months to put that budget together. It took them 10 hours to review it because they had 2 or 3 meetings with their Ways and Means. They had 2 public hearings, and then they went in a room, prepared the amendments at the 11th hour before the board meeting, didn't ask me or my department heads to weigh in on them, which we've always done in the past. We've always done that before a board meeting, especially with my Republican caucus.
Yeah. No, Sam, you were at this.
They went out and just voted it.
We understand your frustration, sir.
Yeah,
Sam,
I thought probably a night's sleep would have calmed me down a little bit, but obviously because I'm passionate about what we've been doing
right.
in this area, and I go back to the credit rating. It's so important as we got development in Marcy, as we got development in Griffiths, as we got development in Utica, and to get out of this hole has been a struggle. The Utica has been doing it. They're trying to get out of the credit rating trap. We're trying to get in it, or at least the board is, which I can't understand. They don't look at reason. It's really unfortunate. We are going to have to make adjustments going ahead because this is not good for the next year.
Sure. I know Sam wanted to interject here quickly because she was there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So obviously things were a little tense yesterday, and they're still going to be. So you were talking about the future. Like, how do you get, in your words, kind of back on track to where you want the county to be, especially with the budget maybe for 2017? What do you need to do? And also, what does this mean for your relationship with it was mainly Republicans, really. What does this mean with your relationship with the Republicans and the board?
Well, look, I'm going to be there for the next 4 years, and this board is going to be there at least for 2. We've got a couple new faces coming in. We've got a few of the old ones, so to speak, going out. So it's going to be a little bit of a new board over the next 2 years, and I will still. I mean, look, I've been a professional in my job. I'll work with them, but they have clearly done. I'm not going to belittle it, and I told them they've done damage to a budget that I am charged with operating now, and I will do that. But so the relationship is strained. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't be this way. We should have worked together better to get to this point, to get to a point of a real compromise, which I thought was the zero when we started out on this path. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to do zeros, especially with the tax cap, and now we're pushing the levy back. So we will run this government with what we have in front of us, but I've got to be cautious because I know what this does going forward. So I'm going to look at adjustments because I don't want to go into next year looking at a tax increase for the people.
Tony,
I'm going to have to restructure. I think this is a golden opportunity to look at sales tax and look at that formula of sharing.
Tony,
and how we fix it.
I'm sure Al Candido still has someone in a headlock from last night, but you guys do have a meeting today at 10 a.m. to sign some paperwork for
We do. That's another great. Those are the kind of things that have been happening. I mean, we finally completed a sale with the state of New York for Homeland Security training center up at what was the former airport property in Whitestown. $10 million. They've been leasing it from us for the past 7 years. Again, $10 million influx of cash that we can use on capital projects that continues to move us forward. Yet you can't manage by just arbitrarily looking at things to say we're going to give people a cut. $900,000 for a tax cut. You know what that does on that budget? Nothing. Mm-hmm. Pennies, literally pennies. And I know that people, and I know that people are struggling out there. But how do you grow the tax base? How do you reduce taxes? You grow the tax base. You invest. You bring people here. You build more, which is what we're doing in downtown Utica. You build more, which is what we're doing in Rome. You build houses. You have availability for people to come in. That increases the tax base and reduces the burden on everybody.
Right.
That's how you lower taxes.
Great.
So this step really is unfortunate. And in the next few days we'll deal with it. I still have to look at these other cuts and adjustments of what they moved and what actions I can take with them. I can't veto any deletions, but I can veto additions, and a couple of these actions are additions, so I'll look at those in the next several days and see what has to be done. I heard them talk about we got to cut spending more. Well, if they want spending cut, if they want services cut to adjust this, then we'll look at that. So.
We will post on our website later on how each of the legislators voted with his or her vote, and so we'll have that listing for folks, just so folks can see how their guy voted.
Folks, and the other thing you ought to see is how folks voted on those amendments.
Mm-hmm.
People, the other two things that they voted. I said they reduced College Corps, they reduced the internship program, they reduced obviously Partners in Prosperity. They defunded that to the tune of $900. They tried to defund the marketing plan up at Griffiths, which everybody's been yelling at me to get commercial traffic. Yet some of them tried unsuccessfully, though, to reduce that. They tried after they committed to people that they weren't going to touch the public market. They tried to cut the marketing program on the public market, although that failed. But those are the things that they really. I'm disappointed in their indifference to the public. They wanted to hear from the public. They wanted to hear from people. They talked about these things. Yet when it came down to it, they lied and they did what they wanted to do, and that's fine. But be honest with people. Tell them what you're going to do.
Were you also surprised with the decision to bring this sports complex to the area on Whitesboro Street across from the Aud, as opposed to the housing complex that was proposed there? That came in late yesterday.
Well, that came in late yesterday. I heard about that. I mean, that's something that, look, we've been investing in that's another piece. We've invested in the auditorium over the last couple of years. The county's made a significant investment there. We helped with parking. I think, looking at the auditorium area, and I haven't talked specifically to the mayor about this, nor did I when he announced the housing project. I have my views on that, and I'd like to talk a little bit more with him and others on that. I think that district can be enhanced with sports, recreation, and other amenities. So, those are areas that I want to look at. But again, those are the things we're investing in. And it's easy to pick and choose. We have the largest economic development initiative in the state of New York at Marcy. The AMS, GE, all of these things happening, and they're coincidentally in Mr. Flisnick's district, I may remind. So he's okay when we do roads up there, and he's okay when we do sewers up there, and infrastructure. So it's okay for that town, but it's not okay for Utica that struggles, and needs help. It's not okay for Rome that struggles and needs help. So, I'm disappointed really all the way around, but we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to fix what we have to fix. We're going to invest where we do, and I'll keep sending stuff down that I believe needs to get done, and we'll go from there.
Great. By the way, Michelle from the Stife is here. She'll be serving us some adult beverages in moderation in a little while. If you'd like to join us, you're welcome to stop by.
We might have to cut Al off quickly.
I do have a full day of work ahead of me and then some, but let me tell you, after the day I had yesterday, it's very tempting. I can tell you that.
We'll be here.
Have one for me.
All right.
No problem.
Thanks for joining us, Tony.
Thank
Appreciate
you very
it.
much for your time.
Sure. Tony Picente, the county executive. Man, you can just tell. It oozes through the phone there, his frustration there. I kind of feel for him. It's too bad.
I'm right with him.
I figured maybe after a night's sleep, but it's still very fresh.
I'm right with him because you're either going to keep that money in those programs or the Republicans, the other side, the other faction, wanted to cut that 3% and get that back to the folks. And by the 1.4%, all right, look at a guy who's got maybe $3,000 in their property taxes. What does 1.4 mean to them?
Right.
Nothing. That's chump change.
It really is, and I get the people who are in you fixed incomes and you want to decrease property taxes. And yes, we do have high property taxes in this area, but yeah, you're right. 1.4%. What does that really do? Especially when it comes to and it's not anything that was that was funded last year, but this Partners in Prosperity money really it goes towards programs that people want to add to our community.
One texter saying here that they thought the comment about the sales tax formula was a bit of a threat.